Welcome to the regular meeting of the Guadalupe City Council, Tuesday, July 28th, 6 p.m. May we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Costa Junior.
Here.
Councilmember Fernandez.
Here.
Councilmember Villegas.
Here.
Councilmember Hernandez.
Here.
And Mayor Julian.
Here. We do have a quorum. Will you please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Ready? Again? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The next item is the moment of thanks, appreciation, or condolences. Is there anybody on the council that wishes to address that? Good. Next item is agenda review. Madam Clerk, will you read that, please?
At this time, the city council will review the order of business to be conducted and receive requests for or make announcements regarding any changes in the order of business.
Council members, any changes? Good. Right along. Next item is community participation. Madam Clerk, will you go ahead and read that, please?
Each person will be limited to discussion of 3 minutes or as directed by the mayor. Pursuant to the provisions of the Brown Act, no action may be taken on these matters unless they are listed on the agenda or unless certain emergency or special circumstances exist. City council may direct staff to investigate and or schedule certain matters for consideration at a future city council meeting.
Thank you. I have several requests to speak. So if I miss you and the order that you applied, forgive me, but we'll go on with that. So Mr. Nunes. The speaker, yeah.
How's that? Better. Okay. Currently, we have an open seat on our Board of Trustees for the Cemetery District. The application can be found or linked from our website, guadalupecemetery.com, under the link Board of Trustees. The applicant needs to be a member or needs to reside in the district and be a registered voter. And the district extends from the Santa Maria River down to Bonita School, over Brown Road to Point Sal Road. So that's the entire district. There are other limitations that may apply depending on the contents of your application. We are having the Wreaths Across America ceremony in December. I put flyers in the back. I hope it's not inappropriate to put them back down the table. And the links are all on there. It's a nonprofit, so it's tax write-off to support a wreath. They're $17 each. We have businesses that will come in and buy 10 or 20 or whatever. And then we have a lot of individuals who can do that. Well, you can do that all on the website that's linked on that flyer. We're going to have a cleanup day at the cemetery. I think it's the first one in a long time. I don't know in recent memory if we've had one, but the debris is just piling up with people. Look, I think it's so important as a community and a society that we memorialize our dead and we honor them, their memories. But, you know, the day before Memorial Day, I was on a wheelchair with a bucket between my knees, picking up garbage along the fence line because they had just been blown out, you know. So we're going to be having a cleanup day. It'll start August 15th and just getting the word out about that. And the last thing isn't related to the cemetery. It's actually on behalf of the Historical Society. I began conversations with civic groups in town, starting with the GVA, about holding potentially a Heritage Day for Guadalupe next year. I'm targeting August, since it's between things in July and then the 16th of September event. I have ideas about what can go into that day. I can tell you the first one, I would like to be slanted towards celebrating the history of Guadalupe and not celebrating the number of vendors we can get to bring booths. Not to disparage any other event, but I want to keep this small, maybe 3-4 hours for the first time, and then grow as we can. So that's coming down the road. I'll be emailing each of you an idea, proposal idea, paper that will put a lot of things out there that I'm considering. So if you have any questions, you know where to reach me.
Thank you,
All right,
Mr.
thank you.
Diaz. Yes, please.
I have a quick question. For those that may be interested in the Board of Trustees for the cemetery, what's the commitment for that?
The commitment is a mandatory board meeting once a month on the second Monday or Tuesday of each month at 1 o'clock. There are limitations, particularly pertaining to city council members, though.
I would love to join. I don't have the time.
Yeah.
But for those that may be interested, is that 1 o'clock in the afternoon?
Yes.
Okay.
And we can change, sometimes we can do it at 5 or after workday or whatever to accommodate everybody. But we did go down the road with an application from a city council member, and both the council of Santa Barbara County and external counsel have both agreed that due to California's doctrine of incompatibility is not recommended that a sitting council member be part of the board at the same time. It isn't, well,
Okay.
it is what it is. I just play by the rules. Thank you.
Next person, non-public comment, Mr. George Alvarez.
Good evening, everybody. A long time no hear over on here. A lot of concerns that I want to bring to your attention. First of all, is I like to know down the road when they're getting our marquee back. It doesn't look like Guadalupe without our theater marquee. I realize it's in Stockton getting fixed. And like I say, I'd like to get it back as soon as possible. I have concern that we don't have enough police department to take care of the city as we grow on it. I've harped on it for many, many years. And it's always the problem with finances. Public safety is number one issue in a community. And we've been very lucky that we have the police officers we have to do the job, and luckily low crime rates in the community so far on that one. So that's another area that I want. Down the road, the water issue, I know we got state water and whatnot on it, and water goes up and up. The quality of water is probably going down. That's just my opinion. I'm not a scientist or whatnot, but that's one of the problems every city's having, quality water, and preparing to make sure we have enough to grow and develop on that part. Thank you.
Thank you. Next individual, my pleasure, Amelia Villegas. Not on the agenda. I'd rather you go from over there so we could separate. Okay, thank you. Your exercise for the day.
As a board member of the Friends of the Guadalupe Library, first of all, we want to say thank you to the city for the past how many years providing budget to pay the rent, the annual rent for our little branch. Thank you, Eli. And we're fortunate at times to receive grants, and we had a board meeting, our regular meeting last week, and we agreed to use a couple of those grants to give to the city for the rent. It's so here's a check, Eli, for $3,500.
Good, thank you.
And while I'm up here,
Please.
may I also mention that next Thursday, August 6th, we're having the library's having its first, I should say, the Friends of the Guadalupe Library are having our first open house. Typically, the branch closes at 6. It's going to remain open from 6 to 7:30. We welcome everybody to come. Bring your kids, bring your grandkids, bring your neighbors. We encourage people to become members of the Friends. The dues are partially what we use to fund the library. We provide the budget, some degree of budget to buy materials, books in both English and Spanish, to buy DVDs. People still use DVDs. Subscriptions to magazines, furniture we've bought and will soon be buying again, chairs for the computers that are there. And so we're a volunteer group, and we would like to increase our membership. And so we encourage everybody to come. There will be refreshments. We will feed you. There will also be door prizes. And Chief Cash has agreed to speak. He's going to be speaking on the importance of reading and literacy. So we welcome everybody to come. August 6th, next Thursday, 6 o'clock. Thanks.
Thank you. Right after food bank, we'll send everybody that way. So. Thank you, Amelia. Next individual, Ms. Francis Romero. Thank you. Let's see. 6-1. All right, the next item is the consent calendar. Madam Clerk, will you read the general topic?
The following items are presented for city council approval without discussion as a single agenda item in order to expedite the meeting. Should a council member wish to discuss or disapprove an item, it must be dropped from the blanket motion of approval and considered as a separate item. A, waive the reading in full of all ordinance and resolutions. Ordinance on the consent calendar will be adopted by the same vote cast as the first meeting unless city council indicates otherwise. B, ratify payment of warrants for the period ending July 3rd, 2026 and July 10th, 2026. C, approve the minutes of the city council regular meeting of July 14th, 2026. D, adopt on second reading ordinance number 2026-530, amending Title 18 zoning ordinance of the Guadalupe Municipal Code, including amendments to Chapter 18.32 R-3 High Density Residential Zoning District, Chapter 18.52 Design and Development Standards, Chapter 18.60 Off-Street Parking, and Chapter 18.64 Landscape Standards. E, approve the filing of a notice of completion for the Guadalupe Junior High School Sidewalk Project and authorize the release of the 5% contract retention to ADA General Engineering following this statutory 35-day lien period, provided no liens are filed. F, accept report of clerical corrections to ordinance number 2026-528, adding Chapter 3.34 to Title 3 of the Guadalupe Municipal Code, establishing a cannabis business tax.
Thank you. First of all, we'll go to the council. Is there a council member that wishes to pull an item? We have a public request to speak on 6-1. Ms. Romero?
Okay, so it was not on. All right. Well, I'd like to speak on item B, ratify payment of warrants. The warrants are partly paid with sales tax dollars. In order to create $100 of sales tax revenue, $10,000 must be spent. The city council stipends are much larger than they were 12 years ago when I was mayor. We used to get $150 each regardless of position. That was then reduced to $142.50 a month when we decided to take the same 5% pay cut that our staff agreed to take in order to avoid layoffs. If each council member took a $100 monthly pay cut, that would be the equivalent of $50,000 a month being spent in town. Just a thought. Item C, approve minutes of 7/14. Number 13, consideration of street name change for Calle Cesar Chavez. This item should have never been on the agenda because of the city's financial situation. While several of you engaged in significant discussion, I just wish that you'd bring that level of interest to more important matters. Leave the virtue signaling to the state and national politicians who must pontificate to appease their bases. Out of 100 notifications, 24% responded. 79% of the respondents did not want the name change. It was great to see that Guadalupe residents are in line with the average American. Cancel culture is dangerous. It is not up to us to determine what did or did not happen decades ago between two people. It should go without saying that we do not support violence against women in any form. Fun fact, the state of California spent $1 billion of taxpayer money to route the bullet train around Cesar Chavez's grave. You can find that online in many reputable news sources. Number 17, announcement activity. I see that Councilwoman Villegas reported she attended a first responder program in Newport Beach. While I support education and personal development, I hope she covered the expenses out of her monthly stipend. Since Chief Cash travels about providing training, perhaps he should provide local training for council members. If Councilwoman Villegas provided a written summary of what she learned or decided to share with the council, I'd like to request a copy of that, because if the city is spending money on education, that information should be brought back to the council and shared with everyone if it was a worthwhile activity. Thank you.
Thank you. What's the wish of the council on the consent calendar? Please. Okay, yeah. That's okay. We're back at the council. So what's the wish of the council on the consent calendar?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All ayes. Thank you. All right, we'll go to management reports. I'll go ahead and read that. City administrator report for July 28th, 2026. David.
All right. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, staff and residents. This month, working with the Royal Theater, a lot of interior work still going on, a lot of forming of footers, a little bit of roof demo going on. They completed the south retaining wall. Let's see. The restroom reviews have gone through. And then the roof bid has been finalized. And then they're pouring next week for the interior footers for the stage. So that's where we are on the Royal Theater as far as updates. Las Mujeres is man, it's moving along. A lot of activity on the skate park by residents. A lot of concrete's poured. They're working irrigation, doing all the timers and all that kind of stuff, getting that all ready. The bathroom has been set. The basketball court is getting striped next week and possibly the hoop put up. We might try to delay that a little bit just because we want to get that kind of set up a little bit closer to when the park actually opens, or at least as long as we can to keep kind of people out. And then Amtrak is moving along. So I got any questions?
I know that that's been brought up in the skate park and there's no trespassing sign. Is there one up now or is there,
Yeah, they've been up for a couple of weeks.
have they? Okay. All right. Any questions of David? Okay, we'll go to item 8, Director of Public Safety. Can you read that, please?
A, Director of Public Safety Report for July 28, 2026. B, Police Department Report for June 2026. C, Fire Department Report for June 2026. D, Code Compliance Report for June 2026.
The man's up. Okay. Welcome.
Hello. Right now, all three of us we're dealing with people coming in for the fireworks citations. So all three of us are working together as a team, getting them, they're requesting hearings and explaining the process to them. But that's what the majority of the 3 departments are doing right now. As far as activity, it's been a normal, the medicals, the parking citations. But other than that, it's been peaceful.
How many fire citations were given? Do you know?
Off the top of my head, the police department, I believe, gave 12, and then through the drone, I believe it was 22. I don't
Okay.
have the exact numbers.
Okay, good enough. All right, that report's in the binder. Any questions from the council? Any questions from the public? Please.
Carlos, on the statistical report, it says reported crimes, total requests for service. And this month was 423 and last month was 316. Is there any real reason that's a big jump from last month? Reported, what does it say? Requests for service.
A majority of them is going to be the parking. All the construction downtown on Guad Street, we get more calls that people are parking where they're not supposed to. So we're basically showing up and making the move because of construction, the concrete, they can't continue the work because the cars are blocking. That's going to be the majority of the calls right now.
Okay.
A lot of the other ones are ADUs that are causing a cluster in the neighborhoods. We're also getting calls on, they're all parking violations, 72-hour violations.
Okay, thanks.
Right, any questions? All right, we'll go to item 9, Human Resource Manager, information only, Human Resource Report for the month of July 2026. Sorry, Judy, I took it from you. 8-1. Okay. All right, sorry about that. 8-1, you're on, Francis.
No worries. Last month, when Chief Cash shared the many meetings he attended outside of the city, he also remarked that he was in Montecito potentially raising funds for the Royal Theater. I was struck by that comment because of the many unmet needs and issues within both police and fire. The city's fire rating has caused premiums to soar and many homeowners and landlords to lose their coverage, leaving them with no option but to obtain state-provided insurance that can be 5 times higher in cost. Instead of fundraising for the theater, Chief Cash and the city should focus on basics first. I see the Royal Theater as a gem, but it is also like a vacation home. If you typically don't buy a vacation home if your home is in poor structural condition. The city's police and fire station located here in this building is in violation of the Essential Services Building Seismic Safety Act of 1986. This is not new news. There are strict compliance requirements for essential services, which police and fire are, and specific bracing is required. If if you're in a shared building like we are, you are not required to seismically retrofit the entire building, only the fire and police areas, and it's for obvious reasons. In the event of an emergency, you can't have police and fire responding if their building has fallen in and is damaged. The city, there are grandfathering exemptions, but that exemption specifically applies to the balance of the shell. It does not apply to the police or the fire building. I also find it sad that we have a lot of empty buildings downtown because of seismic retrofit issues, yet year after year after year, the city is still occupying this building. You still have your public safety responders at risk at both ends of the building. And instead, we are working on a theater that, guess what? If police and fire can't respond if there's an issue because their buildings aren't working in an earthquake, and we have had a sizable earthquake about 25 years ago, or if there's a fire or something. So I'm just saying, priorities, people. Please think about what you're doing tonight.
Thank you. All right, now we'll go to Human Resource Manager, Human Resource Report for the month of July 2026. Sylvia.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, council, staff, and community. A brief recruitment update. The 2 maintenance worker positions that are grant funded received well over 150 applications. So we've kind of sifted through that, and we're getting ready to schedule those interviews in the coming weeks. For finance, the analyst position, we had selected a candidate. An offer has been extended, and we are currently in the pre-employment process. For the accounting technician, we also secured a candidate, and they successfully started last week with the city and are doing very well as part of our restructuring in the city. For public safety, the fire captain position is temporarily on hold, and I am waiting for further direction from chief in terms of scheduling for the interviews. Workers' comp, we did have 2 injuries in the month of May that resulted in lost time, and had another injury this month with modified duty, but we were able to accommodate that employee. There has been no change in the 2 long-term workers' comp claims. For training, fortunately, all of our supervisors were able to participate in the free training that was offered through JPIA. They started that training, I believe, 2 weeks ago. There are 8 sessions, and they will complete that in November. Our plan is to have them report out to the team some of the highlights that they learned. And then we received the updates for the premium benefit rates for next year. And the range of increase was about 6% all the way up to 12%. And fortunately, we did budget appropriately for that. Open enrollment will begin in September. That is it for me, unless you have questions.
Any questions? HR Director? Nope. Please.
Just a quick comment. I'm extremely pleased to see that we're using JPIA supervisor training. I've looked at the modules and they're excellent.
Yeah, I was really excited that they were all able to get in because it was first come, first serve.
Okay, great. All right, our next item is public hearing. Number 10 is the ordinance of the city of Guadalupe adding chapter 15.17 to the Guadalupe Municipal Code regarding hydrogen fueling stations and amending various sections of Title 12. Can you read that, the rest of the?
Written
Thank you.
report, Larry Appel, Contract Planning Director. Recommendation that the City Council A, receive a presentation from staff, and B, conduct a public hearing, and 1, approve a notice of exemption from CEQA for ordinance number 2026-531, and 2, introduce by title only and waive the first reading of ordinance number 2026-531, adding chapter 15.17 to the Guadalupe Municipal Code and amending various sections of Title 12, and C, continue ordinance number 2026-531 to the August 11th, 2026 City Council meeting for second reading and adoption.
Thank you. Mr. Appel.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. Senate Bill 1418 was signed by the governor in September of 2024, which requires all 483 cities and 58 counties in the state to adopt an ordinance. It creates an expedited, streamlined permitting process for hydrogen fueling stations by September of 2028. The city adopted a similar ordinance in September 2023 when section 15.16 was added to the Guadalupe Municipal Code for electric vehicle charging stations. As written, the proposed ordinance would be implemented through the building department. A key feature of the ordinance is the use of a checklist that will assist applicants in determining if the project will be ministerial, meaning just approved by building staff, or if it would require a conditional use permit process through the planning department. That checklist is attached to your staff report this evening. The most likely location for hydrogen fueling would be at one of our 3 existing stations. I talked to the owners of Fast Trip Gas at the YK Market. They are not interested at all. And I emailed the other 2 station operators and never received a response. So at this point, I'm not thinking anyone's going to be beating down the doors for hydrogen fueling. The staff report pointed out that there are only 14,000 hydrogen vehicles in all of California with 50 to 60 fueling stations. And comparing that to the 36 million vehicles that are registered in the state, it's a very small segment of vehicles in the state. In addition to the actual fueling ordinance, we need to amend parts of the zoning ordinance. This included amendments to the mixed use, general commercial, neighborhood commercial, and general industrial zones. We are asking that you introduce the ordinance by title only, waive the first reading, and continue the hearing to August 11th for second reading and adoption. Any questions?
And so far. I'll at 6:34, we'll open it up to the public. Any comments from the public? At 6:35, we'll close the public hearing. What are the wishes of the council? Just want to introduce by title only and waive the first reading of the ordinance, adding chapters 1.15.17 to the Guadalupe Municipal Code, amending various sections of 12, and continue ordinance number 2026-531 to the August 11th meeting. 26 council meeting for the second reading of adoption. Is there a motion to that effect?
I'll make a motion to that effect.
I'll second.
Any discussion? We'll have roll call, please.
Councilmember Costa Junior.
Aye.
Councilmember Fernez.
Aye.
Councilmember Villegas.
Aye.
Councilmember Hernandez. And Mayor Julian.
Aye, so it passes. So the next item is a regular business and the discussion available alternatives for the Royal Theater project. Judy, will you read that when you have a second?
You can go next slide. Okay, we can start there. Okay, so this is gonna be kind of tag team. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, staff, and local and residents. So this is gonna be kind of tag team by myself and Eli. He's gonna be more your numbers guy. And we have the ability to kind of work out some different scenarios. We have spreadsheets and stuff that we can kind of play with. So essentially this first slide is kind of telling you, if we continue the Royal Theater, by the end of this fiscal year, we will be $2.6 million in debt. That's negative cash flow. That is negative $2.6 million in the bank. So we will be brokish, $2.6 million. If we were to continue, including the enterprise funds, we would be plus $2.4 million. So that's adding enterprise funds into our cash flow. That's where we would kind of fall. And then you also have, if you stop the Royal Theater, we would be at plus $5 million at the end of the fiscal year. And if you stop and include enterprise, you're at plus 10 million at the end of the fiscal year. Does that kind of make sense to everybody? So, okay, next slide.
Especially if you
Oh,
don't
yeah.
mind the enterprise fund, that little bullet point down there.
Yeah, so you're adding $5 million to combined cash overall. So if you include it, you're getting an extra $5 million bump. And what that is that's restricted funds that's not supposed to be used for anything other than what the money comes in for. For example, if we receive Measure A money, it can only be used for Measure A funds or purposes, streets, things like that, right? Water fund can only be used for water projects, things like that.
I have a quick question regarding that, regarding the enterprise funds. If we can't use them for anything, was there a reason that we included them in the report?
So because the budget that we have been looking at has been inflated with enterprise funds. So we want to give you guys what you've been seeing and then what you should have been seeing.
So the budget that we've been seeing from Eli or prior to Eli?
Prior.
Got it.
So
Thank you.
if you look at the way we did the budget this year, we broke it down into two separate kind of approval processes for that purpose, so that you guys can see what is actually being in general fund versus enterprise.
So you included the enterprise funds in this report because previous reports that had been given to us included the enterprise funds, which is why it seemed like we were in a positive cash flow. But if we were to continue as is with the project, we are not, because we had enterprise funds intermixed into the reporting.
Correct.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, and if I may, Mayor, council members, staff members of the public, there's some nuances obviously in that, and everything you said is correct. I think to add to maybe the analysis on this, I think we have to remember that there's two parts to this. One, the budget, and two, the cash in the bank. Right. So the budget is not the same as cash in the bank. And so you can have cash in the bank, which is combined, as this shows here on the right-hand side, you have combined cash that includes enterprise funds, but is not necessarily speaking to the budget. And so that kind of ties into what he said, is that there's, we want to show that, yes, while there is, let's call it $12 million in the bank, it's not all general fund money.
Mm-hmm. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is the perfect example of what we,
Would you put that in here? There you go.
that's fine. So this slide right here demonstrates continuing construction, funding only with general fund money. And as you can see, we go October. So in 2 months, we go negative, right? So I think the last fund, which would be September, I think we end up with $400,000. So we're essentially paying one department. And depending on the department, not even the whole department. That's how much money we will have left. And as you see, it projects a negative 3.4 at the end of this fiscal year. Okay, so this one's the first negative in 26. I mean in November, I'm sorry. But because of that 400 grand October, it should be about what we have left. And then we proceed to dip and we don't go back up. And this is, if you look, the project is slated to end in March, and then we start to see a spike, later on in the year. What would be important to add to this would be that finishing dollar amount in June would be compounded onto our current deficit, because we would go back in debt even more, right? So next year, every action that we've been taking to try to eliminate our current deficit would get squashed, and we would go back to compounding our deficit because we're not generating any additional revenue. Any questions on that one? Oh, all right. Next slide, please. And again, this would be the combined account using enterprise funds to again bolster our dollar amount. It keeps us in the positive, but then again, we still face repercussions for using restricted funds to pay for construction that it cannot be used to pay for. This here shows us our lowest point hitting 1.6 around the time that the project ends, and then spiking back up afterwards. And I think on one slide it said, it's about $7.6 million buffer both ways. So when you go negative versus using only general funds, the buffer would be combining the enterprise funds will pop you back above. Any questions on this one? All right, next slide, please. So this is what it would look like if we stop construction, right? So this is general funds only. You have a big dip right now, and then you start to see progress. And we stay positive the whole time. We don't increase our deficit, and we continue to have an actual operating budget throughout the rest of the fiscal year. This allows for paying salaries, keeping lights on, ensuring that people have public safety, because we go negative, they're not gonna have public safety. They're not, nobody's gonna be here. I don't know that anybody here would work for furloughs or for free. So this is the shining star possibly at the end of the tunnel, being able to keep the city functioning and providing services to the city. Any questions on this?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
I know we have a dip, and I mean, this has been discussed at length. So just to clarify, we have a dip because we will have to pay some items, in July. Like there's a dip in July, and then we'll pop back up essentially based on the graph. But have we taken into consideration all the things that we would need to pay back if we stopped construction, such as the grant that we received? I mean, is that included in this? Because did we not?
Yes. Yes and yes.
Didn't we receive a lot of money for the
So-
project? And I just want to make sure that we've included that in this.
So for this project, we've received $5 million. Okay. When it's all said and done with construction costs, we will be used about 3.1, 3.2-ish. So we're looking like $1.5 million we have to give back. Yes. And then with the soft costs, that's all been included. And we're forecasting unpaid invoices, things that have already been purchased that we're just on the line for with our contract.
And I guess that was my next question was, all the items that from the contract that, by ending a contract early, we're taking consideration financially with this graph as well.
Yeah. And, and whenever we get to the spreadsheets, we can kind of show you how that forecast kind of looks a little bit. And then we'll be able to forecast what it looks like with adding the projected. We finally got a reimbursement through So we could show you what it would look like adding that reimbursement in also. So you see that even adding the reimbursement doesn't necessarily help us. It just prolongs. Because we're still gonna have the ebbs and flows, so it's not even gonna be super great. But yeah, so this will include closeout costs that are associated with the project that we would still be on the hook for.
And putting a roof on the building?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Okay, next slide. And then again, this is just the combined cash flow, adding enterprise back into the picture. And then continuing or stopping and then adding the enterprise back into the picture, and you can see our cash flow. We stay positive the whole time. Everything gets paid. Everybody stays happy. Services are rendered to the best of our financial ability. And now I guess would be, yeah, there's more. It just kind of goes more into like if construction continues, we don't really have a funding plan to kind of make up for the lost deficits that we're going to encounter. And again, it's one of those things like we can't take a grant because it's going to have the opposite effect, right? You know, if somebody gives us $5 million and it's a pay as you go, we're still stuck in the same thing. Like it doesn't help anything, because the negative effect is not the receiving the grant, it's the cash flow, right? Because we still have invoices and bills and everything that keep the city functioning. So when those get hit, we can't afford to pay back or wait for reimbursements because, you know, every month, like the bills don't stop. So, trying to continue this and keep everything else going all at the same time, it's not really feasible. And then if construction stops, we reconcile all the outstanding invoices. We demove everybody on the project. We confirm everything again with the grants. Start working on how to return money if they want money back. And then if enterprise funds are considered, this is probably the one that most people think, okay, well, you have enterprise funds, just take a loan against them. But if you guys look back at how the enterprise funds were balanced, they were balanced at zero. So there's no money to take a loan against, right? And then when we start looking at the spreadsheet, we can kind of get more into the weeds of working off of unaudited books. We're guessing how much money we're taking out that is enterprise. Theoretically, all the money in the bank right now is enterprise.
Excuse me. I'm sorry, David. I was told that no one can see the slides on the live stream.
Sorry, I can't. It's doing what it's supposed to, but it's not doing what it's supposed to. I'll try one more time, otherwise I'm not nice either.
Yeah.
This one? I think it's still giving a black screen. Yeah. Tell them we're sorry.
Go ahead and continue, please.
Yeah, so we can't borrow against enterprise because enterprise is zeroed out, right? We're utilizing all the funds that enterprise is generating over the next 12 months. So the only final option would be some kind of loan. But if you look at, we have a deficit, we're gonna go negative, and we have a zero enterprise fund. Taking a loan would essentially be just shooting ourselves in the foot. So that's all I have for the slides. If want to pull up the spreadsheets and we can run some scenarios, whatever ideas you guys may have, or take public comment first, or however you guys would like to do it.
Any comments from the council?
Thank you for this thorough report. I appreciate, I met prior before council meeting, and I think my questions were the same. If we were going to have any financial consequences stopping that, and what could they look like? Which you answered.
I think that the one bullet point that you have there, the next step is, if we move forward, is return with a verified project funding or termination plan that reflects council direction. So I have, we'll open it. Any questions at this point from the council? Mr. George Alvarez.
Testing, that's on. I find it a little odd and confusing that at one time I stood here listening to the beginning stages of the redevelopment of our theater. And at that time, we were discussing the probability of receiving 10 million plus for this project. And it was included in maybe an additional 3 million if we got through a block grant process, which was denied. Now, here we are, I'm hearing we got 5 million so far, as I heard, and that's not enough for what's going on now on it. What's going on? Who dropped the ball? Did someone in the system drop the ball in making sure the grants are up, making sure everything is up to par, making sure the scheduled payments are coming in? Because that was my understanding, that we had to meet these apparent goals to get the project done. I'm hearing now that we're in a scenario that, wow, we might have to stop it. We might end up owing money. And as it is, we're starting at a deficit. What, 3 million that we owe at the backside of it, plus whatever? This is embarrassing because there's a lot of people, such as myself, I was looking forward to seeing that thing rebuilt. I had questions about the cost of it because at that time, that's a lot of money to be doing the project. It could have been done. Now we're stuck in a quagmire trying to figure out how we can save our necks and not hurt the city from not continuing on it. Maybe it's time, in a sense, maybe it's a good time that you guys wake up and figure out you got to tighten up your belts, and you can't get everything that you want because financially, would you run your household the way you're running the city at the expense of losing jobs? It's public safety that's going on here. That's a scary proposition. It's embarrassing.
Thank you.
Just to provide some clarification,
Please.
we received $5 million cash from the California Arts. And then 4.8 was from EDA on the federal side, and that it was fully reimbursable. That is not cash on hand. The $5 million is what we've been working off of. So just a little clarification.
Regarding, there's a lot to this. One of the issues is that the reimbursement process where we have to pay for a product. And sometimes it takes, if those requests for reimbursement aren't submitted in time, it's an issue. I know that I think right now we have staff that are on it as far as reimbursement. Instead of when we use general fund money, it's quicker turnaround than there had been in the past. So there's a lot of caveats that there's, the design changes created another hit for us in terms of what that costs. So I can go on. 11, Mira Ramirez. Ramirez.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Mira. Appreciate you guys having me here today. I have a couple of questions, which is just, I still think it's not been super clear what the actual process is if this project were to be stopped, because I think like there's not a lot of clarity on the legality of what the arrangement was with the construction company. And also, it's a little confusing to say the $5 million is what you guys have been going off of and then talk about the reimbursement, because if that $5 million was in hand, then there shouldn't have been any reimbursement yet. So I think there just does need to be more clarity around what the actual process is for stopping this, because I think it's hard to ask the council to make such a tough decision if all of that information has not been laid out extremely clearly. And from where I'm sitting tonight, it's not been laid out very clearly. There's still a ton of questions. So I just want to bring that up. I also just want to say that myself and individuals have been coming up to this very stand for years, trying to prevent the exact situation that is happening right now. And essentially, we've been turned down the opportunity to have some of these tough conversations and to look into this project, to look under the hood of the car, so to speak, and to come up with solutions before it got to this point. And I just want to say, for me personally, it's frustrating and saddening because all of this was preventable. This did not have to go this way. And so I think, you know, there do need to be long, hard conversations, especially for the incoming elected officials come November, about how to make sure that this doesn't happen again. And I urge the council, before you decide on this project, because it's a huge deal and it's really important to a lot of people and a ton of work has been put into it, that you don't make a decision tonight. You go back to some of the really committed individuals in the community. You have a real honest conversation face to face with them about what potential steps someone could take immediately to try to work through some of these things. You get real answers, concrete answers in paper about what the financial cost has already been, what the financial cost will continue to be, what it will look like to just stop this project tomorrow. And then next meeting, you make any type of definitive decision. Because from where I'm looking, this is a really important thing. And I don't think it should happen tonight with the information that you have in front of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. George?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Can I?
See, please.
Actually, I wanted to just say something kind of Mira, and then Mr. Alvarez, George?
Yes.
Said, this is an important project for the community. The marquee is missing. And I mean, that's important to me too. I just want to know, you know, what are we able to get that back if we were to shut down the project, or, you know, is there extra cost in that? So there's certain things that, you know, we want to look at that aren't financial necessarily. I mean, everything's financial, especially when we're in a crisis like this. But yes, I would like to have more answers on, you know, will we be able to put the marquee back up, and how much will that cost? I don't know if we can even put the old marquee up. So that's just something to think about as well, because the project is really important. That was one of the reasons that I wanted to get more involved with the community 2.5 years ago, was to, you know, help with the project. But as the mayor noted, it's a multifaceted, you know, reason that this happened, that we're in this position, and now we have to figure out how to get out of it.
Thank you. Francis Romero.
Well, I have to say, I wasn't going to speak on this tonight because I figured I tried to make my comments earlier in the meeting, so I don't have anything scripted. But bottom line, I have to disagree with you, Ariston. In 2012, when I became mayor, through 2014, the special restricted funds were rated on a regular basis. That's why we had negative fund balances in different funds. There is a duty of elected officials to ensure that the money that is supposed to go to certain projects and certain activities go to them. In the middle of 2016, when Andrew left, all of that stuff had been, we were starting to go toward reserves. When Bob Peralt, I think it was here, the city had started a small reserve. Somewhere between Cruz and Todd, and there are many finance people that apparently didn't have any expertise at being able to balance a checkbook, the same practices started happening again. In 2016, I mean, how often does the grand jury or the state controller have to come and give you a letter and say, hey, you guys screwed up again, and everybody goes on their merry way doing the same thing over and over again? I mean, honest to goodness, I don't want to see a city without a police or fire department. The people in this community are 20 to 50 minutes away from emergency medical support, depending on the time of day, if they've got to rely on it coming from Santa Maria. Part of the reason the citizens in this community voted for the 3 ballot measures that we passed in 2014 at 79, 80, and 81% was because we went open kimono and we showed them what was being done wrong, and we committed to correcting it. How can you read warrants every month and not kind of have a running total in your head with, oh, we've got $6 million of revenue, but oh, this month we spent $1 million. Does the bell ever go off even if you don't have competent staff? You're lucky now. You've got Mr. Trujillo, who has a construction background. You have to listen to him. He's the expert. None of you are in construction, okay? You've got an excellent finance director. You need to listen to them. You have an obligation to have a solvent city. That is your number one priority. Public safety, wastewater, water, those are the basics. The Royal Theater is a gem, and we are as heartbroken as the next guy because we would be in line to sponsor events there and produce things that people from this community and outside the community would come to. But it can't be at the expense of a poorly run city where you don't have public safety as a priority, your water, your infrastructure. When people flush the toilet, they want it to go away. Andrew used to say that all the time.
Thank you. That's 3 minutes.
Well, thank you. I hope you think tonight.
Next individual, Melanie Backer.
Thank you, Mayor, and everyone here. I just have some questions for David. So, David, when you were speaking, you said that the prior finance people put the 5 million, counted the 5 million in enterprise as the amount of money people had, that the city had. Is that correct? I mean, do we know that I'm just curious, do we know if all the enterprise monies has to go to special places, or, I mean, why was it even considered?
Okay, so all of the say this, what's your actual question?
Well, somebody counted the enterprise
Right.
money as part of the money that
Right.
could be used for the Royal Theater.
Correct.
Used.
Yeah.
And did anybody look into that? And you're saying now none of that money can be used for the Royal Theater because enterprise, it all has to go to it has specific requirements for it, correct? Is that correct?
If I may, let me.
Yes.
Because there's some nuances here. One, I think when you think about enterprise money, it is and has always been restricted for enterprise purposes. So dollars generated from the water fund, from operating fund, are supposed to be used for the water district. Dollar generated from the wastewater, the same thing. So none of those revenues or expenses are meant to touch the general fund.
Okay.
Either way, they're not supposed to subsidize general fund. No, the general fund is supposed to subsidize them. They're supposed to be kept separate. So I think that's part of it. And then I think just going back several years, we are still looking at auditing and finishing audits going back to 2002, 2023. So I think that's what David's alluding to, is that technically we don't know which dollars belong at this point to the general fund and which dollars belong to the enterprise fund.
Got it.
I think it stands to reason, given the overarching annual deficit in the general fund, that if there are dollars, that the majority of those dollars belong to enterprise.
Okay. Thank you. That's helpful. The other question is, So yes, we got 5 million from State of California Arts. And then the 4.8 from the EEA. Have we gotten any of that?
So EDA money has never been touched.
Okay, so it's not like the city has to pay back the 4.8.
Correct. There was a reimbursement recently submitted. When that arrives, we will have to kick that back.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Those are, yeah, it's just very sad, because, and certainly in 2024, when the bond didn't pass, the city had a large group of people that wanted to raise money with a capital campaign. And I'm really sorry. I knew then we were going to be in trouble. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions out there? Seeing no hands or slips to speak, back to the council. Can you turn the lights on? Oh, I'm sorry.
So we have a
Yes.
spreadsheet where we can work out scenarios.
Yes.
If you guys want to see
I wanna
that,
see
if
it.
you don't want to see it.
I
Okay.
don't.
So it.
Or do you want it? It should be shared, but I don't know what's going on.
Okay, just general and just really brief background. What we've done is we've taken the last 2 years of fund history for general fund. And just to really work out a projection schedule, and then just the caveat out of all this is basically a crystal ball. And as all crystal balls, it can never be 100% accurate. That being said, we have used the last 2 years of history to try to extrapolate going forward what the cash scenario would be. We've included every known project expenditure that we've approved thus far that is budgeted to be expended. We've included our best estimate of the reimbursement schedules, and we're updating this on an ongoing basis because, quite frankly, this is probably the thing that keeps us up at night because it's such a critical thing, right? So we also want to make sure that we understand that we've also looked at the Royal Theater and its budget. Some of the numbers that we went over today with David in his presentation, there's the total committed capital for the Royal Theater. This is how much we've expended. As of the date that this created, it's probably, plus maybe a couple $100,000 by this point on that number. But needless to say, it's close enough. And then we've also included our cash position as of today. There's been some changes from the charts that you saw earlier, only to the extent that we've run payroll that is sort of accrued from the last fiscal year. So that's updated here. The numbers will be slightly different. That being said, we can still run scenario analysis on what our cash position would be on a go-forward basis. And as you can see, this includes every single inflow that the city has to its name, from sales tax all the way to grant reimbursements, and then all our outflows, which have been largely consolidated, but include every subcategory within them. And so what we can do with this is, there's two big levers here for cash flow. One is our assumption of what we believe the general fund cash actually is. And so as we kind of alluded to earlier, it's the big question mark in the room right now is we don't know how much money actually belongs to the general fund. And so if we work under the assumption that, we had $5 million from the CAC, we've expended about, call it $2.5 million. That leaves $2.5 million presumably from CAC money. And if you believe the numbers that we currently have in our books today, roughly $284,000 is to the general fund. So you would be around $3 million total in general fund money. And then if you look at the next, in this field, we can sort of play with what would it cost us to either continue the Royal Theater, which is the base case, or what would it cost us to try to dissolve that contract and agreement, presumably enter sort of an agreement to pay back what we've already spent, maybe put a roof on it, and then we can sort of look at what that would look like. So for example, if we look at what we started with in the slides that you looked at, and I just put in, $6.3 million, oops, that's 63 million, $6.3 million dollars in there. We're assuming that's the general fund money. That's the prior slides you looked at with the slide deck. And then we assume that the Royal Theater will cost, $2 million to put up a roof, and we'll have to pay back another $2 million, maybe 2.3 for the money that we've already expended. That means that we would be paying back $4.3 million. And we look at the total cash, then in that scenario, we would remain above water, even if we paid that money back. So I think that was sort of your question earlier. So I just want to make sure I address that. Now, if we change this back, and again, to the base case, if I just take this out and we leave the base case at 0, and then with everything that we know today, including the reimbursement that David alluded to from the EDA, including all the changes in payroll that have occurred since the first report that you saw, this would be our future today if we continue the Royal Theater. So this is, again, starting at 6.3. Although it did mitigate going into bankruptcy territory in November, it just basically pushed it out a few months. So it's not necessarily going to help. And so the difficulty here is, and this is sort of something to remember with grants, they're great if you have money to carry those grants. And we certainly don't necessarily have that balance.
Please, go ahead. I want him to finish first, then you can chime in when we're finished.
So, and I mentioned earlier, I think the difficulty here is not knowing what the general fund balance is, so that if we change this to a more drastic situation where we say maybe, the general fund only has $3.5 million to its name, and the rest of it is enterprise money, which is probably the likely scenario because, they actually have been in cash positive territory over the last, 3 to 5 years, while the general fund has been negative. And then we still continue the Royal Theater. That makes, that puts us in a very, very bad situation. So I think, and look at, I don't know if, let's see if we can move this. Oops. That puts us down to $4.5 million almost that we would have to either work out a loan with the general funds. And while they do have cash to their name, that's a big loan for the general fund. And the interest alone, I think, would be insurmountable given that we're in a deficit. So maybe I'll just pause there. And if you want me to enter different scenarios, I can definitely do that here.
Wishes, Council? Myra, did you want to say something? We can't hear you. And you got 2 minutes.
So I want to just make sure I'm understanding correctly. You said right now, currently, there's 248,000 in the general fund, correct? Plus
284, and then just with the
additional money from,
with the caveat that it's unaudited numbers. And one thing I can assure you is that those numbers are going to move. We don't know which direction.
So if you can't use the enterprise funds to repay back the money, then wouldn't the city be 2 whatever million in debt if they were to have to pay back the money right now to the state? I guess I'm just trying to understand, either way, the city goes into massive debt if they have to pay back the money and pay to finish it. So I guess my question is, like, if you go into debt regardless, could you guys make a estimate of if someone were to get a $3 million check tomorrow, does that put the city in a position that they can move forward with the project? Is it a $5 million check? What's the amount of money that would be needed in a short amount of time to change this in a better direction? And also, if you can't use the enterprise funds to pay back the money to the state of California and you're going into debt, then buying more time to raise more money, wouldn't that kind of ultimately put the city in a better position? Because then you could actually not have to pay back the $2.5 million and you get a completed project. Otherwise, you would have spent close to $4 million for a non-completed project.
There's a lot of things in what you just said. Let me try to just
like how would the
unravel
city
that a
pay
little bit.
back the $2.1 million if your starting point is 248,000?
Let me try to unravel it. And just to make sure we're clear, it's 284,000. And again, I'm gonna just repeat this another time, is unaudited numbers. So there's a high likelihood that number is not correct. So again, that's just emphasizing the fact that our numbers are not audited.
Understand.
But the more likely scenario, because we have received CAC money and because we have expended money for purposes that are eligible costs, the more likely scenario that our cash position is closer to about $3.5 million is sort of my best case scenario.
Are you thinking there's a chance that the state will just wipe those funds and call it good?
I think we're still looking into that.
Okay.
Yeah, we're still
I just think
looking-
that's important information, because if the city's going to go into $2 million in debt just to repay it, that's worth having a conversation of like, then what works better? Buy more time and try to raise more money and finish the project, or go into debt and not have a completed project? That's why I wanted clarity on that.
Yeah, and I think again, if we believe that there's $3.5 million that are owned by the general fund, and in that scenario, we end up paying back 4.3 million, or the project ultimately only costs 4.3 million. The most likely scenario is that we stay positive the whole time.
But wouldn't you
only
have to
very
pay
slightly.
back the whole thing?
No.
Wouldn't it be the whole
No.
5 million
That's
back?
not the way that works. So if you review the contractual agreement that we have with the CAC grant,
They don't need a completed project, just
correct,
eligible.
they don't
funds.
need
Okay.
completed project, it's eligible funds before any kind of emergency happen.
Thank you. That was the clarity. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Good questions, Mira. I think, I know that, and I underline it in blue, then that return with a verified project funding or termination plan that reflects council direction. I know that the staff has been working with all our entities in terms of trying to figure out where we are, even the 23-24 audit, I know we heard 6 months ago that it's almost finished, and I think it's close to getting done. So that's basically our foundation for what moves forward. Now we got 24, 25 and 20, and then upcoming 25, 26. So there's a lot of work that has to be done in terms of the financial picture and where we actually stand. And I know that the finance staff and David and everybody else that's got their hands on this are trying to come up with the best scenario for us to make that decision. That's my comment so far. So anything? David, do you have any more to move forward with, or are you?
I also want to underscore that regardless of what we do here and looking at the cash, we're still in a deficit.
Mhm.
So that means we're still cash flow negative for next year. So we still have to have a conversation about how we're going to close that gap.
Right.
And so this is keeping our head above water through the end of the fiscal year and giving us breathing room to come up with solutions, maybe on a go-forward basis. But I think understanding that adding any kind of other expenses or debt or anything like that is just going to exacerbate the situation.
Well, our discussion is to discuss the project cash flow effects of continuing versus stopping construction of Royal Theater. I know it's a tough one. The writing's on the wall in terms of where we are with what we're going to do in the future in terms of our resources that we have to run the city. we're caught between a rock and a hard place. So I think that without any $3 million checks or without, our general fund is just going to be hurting if we continue with this, with the Royal Theater. So.
No, I echo that thought. And reading all of this and trying to slice it all different ways, and even before the council meeting, make sure I was understanding it, talking to David a bit. And then with your clarity here, I keep coming back to, we need to stop it. And, and to use your scenarios without enterprise funds. I don't see any way to continue it. It's a nice project. I would love to see it. I'm a native Guadalupean, but we're not in a financial position to continue with that very nice project. You can go back and say, well, whomever was sitting in this position didn't do X, Y, and Z. That serves no purpose. We just need to look at who we have now, who are in the positions to evaluate the financial situation, look at options, which I think we have been given the options. And I keep coming back to stopping the project.
Can I speak?
Please.
When you look at it like this, yeah, I don't see any other option but to stop the project. I mean, I know there's a lot of nuance with what could happen. I don't know if my thought is I think it was the last meeting I asked for this, and that, I'm really happy that we got this information quickly, because it's kind of, putting us in a bad position if we continue moving forward. But I'm wondering if before we make a firm move to stop the project, if we could do something like Mira suggested, getting like the details of what we need to stop, and then, can we put the marquee back on? I'd like to see a projection of what, I guess, I know you guys did that to the best of your ability, but I'd also like to see if we can have a projection for when, or if, or a thought of when we can do this project. You know what I mean? Like, it is. Go ahead.
Well, I can answer that one pretty easy. Not until we at least have $0 in a deficit.
Yeah.
So we're looking at least 3 years, and then we know at present time, this project costs $13 million to complete, right? So until we have $13 million in the general fund, we cannot start this project. That's where this project went wrong. This project started when you didn't have general fund money in the bank to back any of the grants.
And I think part of that too, and I'm not arguing, agreeing, because I think we're on the same page. Before either of you came into position, people from the council, people from the community were asking for, is this a reimbursable grant? Where is this money? How is it sitting? We need to learn as a community, as a city, to not get into this position anymore. Any big projects would need to be very well planned out financially and otherwise. So yes, I don't think we could do this anytime soon, but I'd like to tell the city that we have, it's on the agenda, even if it's 10, 20 years from now. But I don't think we would want to not have the marquee up. So that's important.
Yeah. And the marquee is going to be an issue. It's not even that the, funding the, the marquee, because the marquee's gone, right? It's been dissolved. It's being rebuilt to official, standards, or to being historical standards. So it's not even a matter of, paying for it. It's one, right now we're having a fight with Caltrans about the height of the sign and how it's protruding over, and whether or not they're going to let us put the sign back on with an encroachment permit. Two, we don't know that the existing wall will hold the marquee because we don't know what the weight's going to be. It's probably going to be a little bit lighter because it's being made out of like aluminum and powder coated and all this Gucci kind of setup on it. But we don't know that it'll hold. And we don't know that the existing structure will pass any kind of code compliance with fasteners and anything, right? Everything's being designed for what would have been, right? The good news is, on the flip side, is we don't know how much longer that marquee would have lasted being up there, right? So we at least eliminated the safety hazard, even though we all want the marquee, right? I mean, the marquee is the iconic piece of that facility. And if we're trying to keep it in cahoots with the historical designation, we're still waiting to get that approved. So, I mean, we could be looking at 3 or 6 more months, depending. I mean, I don't even know that they could give us the timeline on that, you know. I know it's going to the next person within like the next 2 weeks to see if they have anything to say about it, but we still don't know.
I just want to finish up really quick. I guess the biggest thing, I mean, maybe the marquee, I mean, I trust your judgment on that. Like, I think Ms. Romero said that you have a construction background. I do not. So I trust your judgment on that. But I mean, I guess my biggest point is that we continue to keep the community up to date on what's happening. If this is the path we're going down, and then have solutions to the problems. Like, it's pretty, it looks pretty bad right now. Obviously, it's in the middle of construction, but how are we going to ensure that it looks decent, you know, if we don't move forward with the project? Thank you.
Christina.
I agree. I want to echo what Councilmember Furness says. What can council and community members expect if council was to move forward for that termination plan? What can we expect? And is there any timeline that you guys are looking at that you guys are like, it's a hard stop? We need to do X, Y by this date.
Well, contractually, any hard stop is 30 days at the minimum, right? I don't know that anything as far as hard could be completed in 30 days. You know, sometimes contractors don't even reconcile invoices in 30 days, you know, so some stuff could, it might get drawn out. I know I've already given direction, regardless of how this went, is to continue with the historical designation, because I think that's important regardless of if we finish it now or in 15 years, right? And, you know, I mean, maybe a private developer comes in and wants to revamp it and they have all the money in the world and they can make the facility look amazing, right? But we want to give that opportunity either however it plays out, right? But I mean, things still have to be made safe and, you know, things like that. So it's not like, I don't know that we could just say, leave it, no roof, no back wall, and then somebody blows on it and it falls over. Like, I don't know that that's responsible for the city or, you know, the contractor even leaving it like that. So, you know, you're going to have more incurred cost. And what's important to note is, you know, as soon as that month comes, if we're getting, I mean, I think we just had an $800,000 invoice for that theater today. You know, that's our reimbursement from EDA was less than $800,000. So they just canceled out regardless of if we kept going, and we're still hitting that negative deficit. So that's the kind of impact that the reimbursements are actually having, right? You know, so I mean, if you like having a police, we can't continue that project. If you like having somebody to come turn your water on or fix a water leak in your yard, they're good. But nobody's going to put out your fire. Nobody's going to respond to your medical emergency. We're not going to have the ability to pay these people. And I don't know about Lieutenant Lamont, but I don't work for free. So I assume he's not going to risk his life for free either. You know, so there's certain things that we have to weigh, and we have to weigh the pros and cons. I mean, we're already making staff cuts. If this continues, within the next 6 months, we're cutting 15 more people because we're going to have to make up money somewhere. And I don't know that we have 15 people left in the general fund. So, I mean, it's going to be Lieutenant Lamont and Eli here running the show because we're not going to have anybody left. It's just going to get there, and it's going to get there quick. And as soon as things start getting audited, or if somebody audits us, it's going to look bad real quick. And we don't want to, you know, shock and awe or try to scare people or be like, hey, man, maybe you start looking for a job. That's not our intention. Our intention is we need to fix this, but we can't fix this if we have no money, because no people can fix something if there's no money here.
Can we sell the building?
No.
If I may, we can sell it to a developer to develop it as a performing arts center.
Oh, yeah.
Well, or theater, some kind of performing arts theater. It's because of our long-range property management plan. This was a former redevelopment agency property. When the state abolished redevelopment agencies, we had to come up with a long-term plan. This property was transferred to the city for development as a performing arts center of some sort. And that's why we tried to do it with the grants and everything, because that was one option. We could do it on our own, or we could have sold it to somebody, but at the time when we did this in 2021 or whatever, we did an RFP and got 0 responses from the private sector about developing it in that capacity, which is why we went this route in the first place.
All right. Decisions. You can't dig more into our financials than you already have. It's already there. Well, you not very deep though, in terms of.
We may not
trying
want them to,
Trying to
but I'm
find
sure you could.
that gold. It's just not there. So what kind of action do you need from us?
I would prefer stop work. That would be my recommendation. With the caveat that we will still continue to work to close out invoices. We will still give you updates on where things are. I think it's irresponsible for us as staff to be like, hey, stop work, and then give you guys no more information.
Yeah.
So I would say if we stop work, we do a reconciliation of all contracts, all invoices, everything, what our closeout costs would be. I have the contact for CAC, contact CAC, explain the situation. There's all kinds of clauses in our agreement with CAC that say, in case of emergency, break glass kind of situation. So there may be some relief. I'm not 100% sure. May have to lean on Councilmember Hernandez and her contacts to try to help save us a little bit. But I feel like if I were to tell you to continue construction, I would be doing a disservice to this community.
It sounds like if we ask staff to continue paying, we don't have money to pay the bills. So it's, I think the writing's on the wall with some specifics after that. We're talking about the closeout side of things. So you got the contractor to deal with, you got EDA to deal with, you got the California to deal with. What kind of motion are you looking at to terminate the project?
Yeah, that would be my recommendation.
Okay. Yes, please. Please.
I think that's the only option too. I think we're probably all in agreement based on the hard facts. One thing I would like to take as a positive from this, or potentially a positive if we move forward with this, I'd like a big lessons learned discussion. It goes back to before I was here, you were here. Many of us were not involved in this project from the start, but if we could start considering the lessons learned and then bring that to the community, so we don't run into this again.
I kind of think of this as like trying to buy a Ferrari off minimum wage. We kind of went for something super amazing because, it was nice and shiny and fancy and it would have been great on the street. But we were just trying to live outside our means. And who knows what can happen in a couple of years. We could be flush with cash. We redo fee schedules and all this kind of stuff that we've been slacking for so many years. When all that stuff gets up to date, it could totally flip the script, right? We can 180 like really quick. They're starting to pour curbs and gutters on the south side of Pasadena. So things are possibly moving, but we had cart in front of horse and it just backfired.
There's a saying that I like to refer to, and it says, I do what I can, the best I can with the light I have. And as council members, we need that financial information way ahead of time in terms of, and I think people have alluded to that. Where are the numbers? And what kind of light did we get about those numbers? I'm not blaming anybody, but I think it's here and now, so it's time, especially talking about letting people know where we're at and what we're doing. It's not that we don't want the project, it's just that it's financially a burden to us right now for a variety of reasons. And I think that in the future, we'll be able to see what reasons. You know, you look at COVID, you look at the lack of construction there at Pasadena, you look at all the grants that we have and the money that you have to put. There was 750,000 that was set aside for the renovation of Royal Theater. So where did that go? Where is it in our audit? Where did that go? And hopefully starting with the 23, 24, when it comes back to see, maybe that's a base of where we're at, because then now we have 2-3 more years of audits that we have to do. So what's the form of the motion? Is there a motion to Phil? Will you
Yeah,
gonna say
if I
something?
could, I would like to make it as broad as possible because we don't know exactly what's being entailed. I would suggest the motion direct staff to terminate the project, including but not limited to giving notice to contractors as required under the contract. There's multiple contractors. And but also to consider options with respect to the building in terms of, I believe that I'm not sure how to word this, but do we put a roof on it or not? There's no direction from council at this point on that topic. I hear that you want to stop construction and that's the first part of the motion, but then do we want to preserve the building to the extent possible or something like that?
Well, I would. Yeah, yeah.
Can we just give staff direction to do all the things we talked about? I mean, as far as like making the best decisions based on.
And to button it up to where there's, that no further harm comes to the building.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so that's what I was trying to get at. So
Yeah.
I want it as broad as possible. So the motion should be,
Terminate and preserve.
Terminate.
Okay.
yeah, terminate the project, but preserve the structure to the extent possible, something like that.
Right, is there a motion for that effect?
I'll make a motion to terminate the project, but preserve the building to the effect that we can.
Is there a second?
Real quick, before we second, this is also without enterprise funds going into any of this, correct?
Correct.
Okay, I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All ayes. Thank you, staff. It's a tough one, and thank the audience out there for trying to bear with us. Okay, future agenda items.
I got a request from Miss Lotta Murray if they could present to council on a youth, all about youth presentation, and it's in regards to like the Santa Maria Valley and Guadalupe.
Lana Murray?
Lotta, yeah, Latta, I believe, and then Murray, Muturi. And so she wanted to present to council in regards to all about youth.
The next meeting?
I think if we got it approved, you can reach out and yeah,
And you can send me her contact? Oh, okay.
absolutely, yes. And then I also wanted to see if maybe it would be okay for council to have maybe a policy on like staff travel, so we can maybe see some
Ooh.
oversight.
It will be at the next meeting.
Okay.
Staff travel, the PO, purchase order agreement and updated purchase will all be at the next one.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Anybody else? I have a request. And this will be for the August 25th meeting. And there's a group called the Cardona Club in America, which is celebrating 100 years in existence. And they're one of the founding members, several of the founding members were from Guadalupe. And it's been, it's from 1926 and 2026, and they're having their annual convention in Santa Maria. They used to have the convention here at Leroy Park in Guadalupe. And Guadalupe is actually the founding site for this group. So they've asked for a proclamation of their 100 years of history. Several individuals here, I think Amelia's father was part of that. My father, my uncles were part of that. What we would do is we'd have a convention here on September, and then the following year there'd be a convention in San Francisco, and then we'd come back every 2 years. And we'd use the Leroy Park there was a dance, there's basketball tournaments, barbecues. So I'll give you more information on the proclamation. So that'll be 100 years of Cardona Club in America for the 25th of August. Okay. Announcements, council activity reports.
Let's see. I attended the meeting last Wednesday on pesticides. It's the second meeting I've attended, and there was a far greater attendance as a result of the flyer that was put in the water bill, which was very nice to see. And then last Thursday, I attended my second CCWA meeting. This Saturday, I was one of several people who participated in the Guadalupe 5K, the Ron Estabilo Memorial 5K, which was very hot, extremely hot. And I wanted to mention that tomorrow at the senior center, there's going to be a Medicare, senior Medicare panel from 10 to 11. And I believe that they're going to be speaking about Medicare fraud and scams. So that's 10 to 11 at the senior center. And what is it? This Thursday is the 1-year anniversary of Escalante Meadows. I can't believe it's been a year. So there'll be an event there, which I will attend.
That's at 2 o'clock.
Yes,
And
2
that's-
o'clock,
That's when Carbajal is here at
1 o'clock,
1.
1 to
David, do you have a
1:45,
specific time?
1 to 1:45.
It's gonna change after what just happened.
That was my question. Yeah.
Need more time with him or what? No.
Yeah, you
Who
might be
knows?
back bypassing us.
Okay. All right, is there a motion to adjourn? I'm
More
sorry, I'm
council
sorry.
announcements. Although I just
Okay,
have a quick one. I just had the pleasure of spending the day with Mary Buren students at the school yesterday. I did a presentation for my day job, which is with NASA, and got to engage students from kindergarten through 6th grade or going into 6th grade. And it was just really nice to see the program and what they're doing over there and what they've been doing for summer, the Fun in the Sun program at Mary Buren.
I also attended the 5K run. It was great to see participants join. My son was able to join. I had to do the little Giants game, and so I wasn't able to run. Attended the CPR meeting. We spoke about pesticides and how people can sign up for spray days. And spray days based on the location of your house will tell you when there is some restricted pesticides, which is really important. My kids are and myself are heavily allergic to several pesticides and air pollution. And so knowing what is being sprayed around us, I think is really important. I also attended the One Community Action meeting, and that's it.
If anybody is available Saturday at 9 a.m., we have our junior Giants with their last game of the season. 9 o'clock game is the Cheez-Its and the French fries, both teams from right here in Guadalupe. If there's anybody available, staff that would like to go and support them on their last game, that'll be for everybody who participated in the Junior Giants program.
Is that Hagerman? Is that?
At
where it's-
Hagerman, yes, at Hagerman,
9 o'clock?
9 o'clock. That game will be on field 1.
Okay. Televised?
No,
Okay, okay. Okay. Yeah, there you go. Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All ayes.